Want to watch this interview, you can do that. Go to our Facebook page, go to our YouTube channel, even on X, you can watch it live. Sammy Gyamfi himself is here, and we want to talk about the gold board and all matters arising. Sammy, let's get to it. I mean, after about 6 months of your operation, we started to hear the numbers, the results. And the effect that it was having on the stabilization of our city, and by extension on our economy. I mean, are these numbers real? The hike from 2 million a year to 2 billion a year to about 6 billion in half a year. How exactly did the Gold Board achieve this?
Thank you very much, my brother. You see, the Gold Board, I've always said, is a product of foresight. Is a product of vision. You know, in opposition, is a conversation that His Excellency President Mahama always had with some of us, because he could not understand why, as a country, we were so blessed with gold. And gold is always the surest way of, getting FX to support one's economy. And yet, we're always struggling with our reserves. We always had to resort to the Eurobond markets to borrow to shore up our FX reserves, especially when the cocoa syndicated loan was no longer forthcoming. And so every now and then, the cedi had to depreciate at a very alarming rate, and once that happened, it impacted negatively on inflation and living conditions in the country. And so he began to share with us how we can change that narrative, how we can assert our national sovereignty over our mineral wealth as a people, and use that mineral wealth to generate the much needed forex for the needed FS liquidity for the market, and also to shore up our reserves, because that is fundamental to the economic transformation of every country. So what we realized was that hitherto, individuals were allowed to apply for licenses to buy, sell, and export gold. Now, this space was not limited to only Ghanaian participation. Foreigners could also engage in the trading and export of gold. And because foreigners had a bigger financial muscle, they dominated the space. So 70% of the gold export space used to be dominated by Indians. And what we saw was that, yes, Bank of Ghana, under their FX laws, required that anytime you exported anything, including gold, within 30 days, 80% for gold, 80% of the forex had to be repatriated back. But these entities were not, complying with this rule. So they will export, and then it takes forever before the FS comes in. So what you were even reading as gold exports for Ghana was not necessarily translating into FS inflows, because in most cases, the FX was not coming. And then we also saw that most of these entities, not all, but most of them, were only using their licenses as a ruse to buy and smuggle gold. Because once they had a license, you could not question them for buying gold. But nobody was checking whether what they were declaring and exporting was actually what they were buying. So the small-scale gold sector, particularly, had been totally underestimated in our books in Ghana. When you went to India and Dubai, you saw huge figures in terms of volumes and values of gold from small scale in Ghana that had been exported to their country. But in Ghana, you saw so little because there was no agency tracking all these things. So the president said the first thing you need to do is to change the legal regime. And that is what led to the passage of the Ghana Gold Board Act in record time, because his instructions to me was that, Sammy, this is a top priority. You must work on it as a matter of urgency. When people heard that I had been appointed to PMMC, people thought that it would take forever for the Gold Board to be established. But I knew what my marching orders from the president were. And so I knew that with the help of stakeholders, like likes of Steve Mantiao, Senyo Husi, the Ghana National Association of Small Scale Miners, the traders, the GLS Association, I knew we could do it. And in record time, we produced a bill which Parliament passed and the President assented to on the 2nd of April of this year, which is hailed as one of the best, legislations that has ever been passed. What that law has done is that now we are asserting our national sovereignty, like I said. You cannot buy gold and export gold from Ghana as an individual, whether foreigner or Ghanaian. The state is saying that we have a central agency which will be responsible for all gold purchases in Ghana, be it small scale or large scale. The large scale companies have stability agreements that allows them to export the chunk of the gold they produce, but 20% of that is bought locally by the Gold Board. And so far we bought in excess of 120 kilograms of large scale gold, which goes directly into our reserves at the Bank of England. But for small scale, you don't even have a choice. No foreigner. We banned that space because why should we allow foreigners to take over everything in this country? If it's about mopping up small scale gold, do we need foreigners to do that? No. Government says if capital is a problem, we are giving Gold Board the needed capital. And once Gold Board has a capital, we won't give foreigners the money to go and buy for us. We'll give it to our citizens. So foreigners leave the local gold trade space for Ghanaians. And so even for the Ghanaians,
lawful for them.
Yes, it's criminal. You can go to jail for 10 to 15 years if you are caught as a foreigner to be engaging in gold trading. And then even for the Ghanaians, we are saying we want to know you. So you must have a license from the Gold Board before you can buy, and you only buy for and on behalf of the Gold Board. So we changed this regime and we introduced new licensing reforms. Hitherto, PMMC issued gold buying licenses. Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources issued gold buying licenses that allowed holders of the licenses to export gold. Now it is not the case. Now we have different categories, different tiers of licenses. Because if you want to maximize resource, you must be innovative, and address the peculiar issues in the gold trading sector. So what we saw was that all the buyers are not the same, and therefore you can't regulate them in the same manner. So now we have grassroots buyers of the Gold Board, who we call tier 1 buyers. These are the petty buyers who buy small volumes. Most of them don't have offices, and they ride on motorcycles or bicycles, move from one area to the other, buying from kuli, small volumes of gold. But they are very important to the value chain. And the regulations for them are totally different from the big buyers, who we call tier 2 buyers, well-structured buyers with offices. They can have up to 3 offices in any part of the country to buy gold, and there are systems in place, both governance and legal requirements, financial requirements and operational requirements that we have put in place for them.
You check all these before you do business with them.
Exactly, and we do anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing assessments on them before we give them licenses. And then, because we want to make sure that any money involved in gold trade in Ghana is of a clean source. That's very important. So that one day we don't wake up to the news that Ghana has been blacklisted, for breach of AML laws and so on. Then we have the aggregators, who are the mega buyers for Gold Board. And so far there is only one. We used to have about 4. The number has come down to 1 because the licensing requirements are very stringent, and we have self-financing aggregators, all of whom are Ghanaians, who use their own funds to buy gold under a different regime for the Gold Board. So we introduced these licensing reforms. We also strengthen regulatory oversight and control over the market by appointing Gold Board inspectors and inaugurating a Gold Board task force to enforce our mandate and make sure that there is compliance, because what is the essence of the law if you cannot enforce the law? And that, coupled with the scrapping of the 1.5% withholding tax on processed small-scale gold, has helped us to reduce, not to eliminate, but reduce the incidence of gold smuggling Then we also introduced a very effective aggregation system, where we within a cycle of T+3, we advance cedis received from the Bank of Ghana through our aggregator to tier 2 buyers, to tier 1 buyers for gold purchases, and in a matter of 3 days we have the gold in Accra for shipment. And so this effective aggregation system deployed in all mining districts, coupled with the scrapping of the 1.5% withholding tax and our fair pricing system, is what has led to the significant strides we have made in terms of the volume of gold we are able to mop up. So the whole of last year, we were able to export only about 66 tons of gold for the small scale sector. Now by August, we had crossed that. We had done about 67. August this year alone. I've not even added September. The whole of last year, we got $4.6 billion from small scale gold. This year we've got a nearly $6 billion. Now let me put it in perspective. The Bank of Ghana just released the summary of economic and financial data for September 2025, and if you check that, you will appreciate the importance of the gold board, because you see, from January to September of this year, our total export earnings as a country has been $17.9 billion. All our exports. Gold has given us $11.2 billion out of the 17.9.
Wow. Cocoa
gave us $2.4 billion. Oil gave us $1.8 billion. Other exports gave us $2.4 billion. Together, $17.9 billion. Gold alone, 11.2. And out of that 11.2, the small scale sector alone gave us nearly $6 billion. So in percentage terms, over 35%, that is more than a third of all our entire export earnings have come from the small scale sector alone, which is now doing better in exports, both in volume and value, than large scale for the first time in history. You see, and due to these significant inflows of FX, which I believe was always there, but because we didn't have a gold board to harness it, we were not reaping the benefits of it. Due to that, the cedi from January till August has appreciated by 21%, despite the recent challenges we had. If you take the performance of the cedi cumulatively against the dollar, January to August, it is appreciation rate of 21%. Same time last year, the cedi depreciated by 23.5%. 23.5%. Now, you know that once your cedi is appreciating in that significant manner, it impacts inflation. So that is why you've seen the rate of inflation decline from 23.8%, I believe, as at December last year, 23.8, to now 11.5 as at August this year. Then we are seeing something very instructive. Lending rates are also going down. The average lending rate, according to the Bank of Ghana, as of December 2024, was 30%. Today, it has come down to 24%. Then, what is even more striking is the public debt. The public debt we took over from the MPP was 767 billion Ghana cedis, thereabout, 726 billion. Now that debt has, as of December 2024, that debt has reduced by 97 billion. So now you're talking about 628 billion. In terms of debt to GDP, we took it from 61% of public debt to GDP, today 44.9%. All on account of the appreciation of the cedi. To even take a detailed look at the debt dynamics, you know that the external, our debt is in two folds: the domestic component, and the external debt. The external debt, our external obligations to our bilateral partners and other things. And as of December 2024, externally, Ghana owed $28.3 billion. $28.3 billion. Because the exchange rate was so high, because we didn't have forex, that translated into 416 billion cedis. Now, that external debt has gone up marginally from $28.3 billion. As at August, it is 29 billion. So marginally, $0.7 billion increase. But because of the way the exchange rate has performed, in cedi terms, it has reduced from 416 billion cedis to 305 billion cedis. So the external debt alone has reduced by 111 billion cedis on account of the appreciation of the cedi. Meaning that the amount of money we are using to service our external debt, which used to be 416 billion, now has gone down because the external debt in cedi terms is 305 billion. Significantly. Okay, and like President Mahama said, this is attributable partly to the good work that all of us have done at the Gold Board. So these are early days yet. We are not getting complacent, but we are happy that about these early successes, and our objective is to sustain it and to even look at other areas that the Gold Board Act mandates us to look at, areas of value addition and so on, that I believe that we may get a time to discuss. So far, so good. What you've heard is true. The numbers are there for anybody to check. Gold exports have been unprecedented, not only because the price of gold has gone up, but also because in terms of volumes, we are almost doubling, volumes, and it is because of these systems that I've already explained, which are yielding all these positive results. Yes.
Sammy Gyamfi is our guest on the Super Morning Show.
Gold Board purchases in cedis and you do the sales in dollars. Is there any explanation to that as to why that is the approach of the Gold Board?
Well, I don't see why that should even be a question. Because we are living in Ghana, and the legal tender in Ghana is cedis. And legally, nobody is allowed to trade in dollars in Ghana. So the Gold Board, as a state institution, cannot buy gold in dollars. We can only buy gold in cedis. But in buying gold, because gold is an international commodity traded on the international market, you have to fix the price in cedis based on the international market price of gold in dollars. Okay. And that is what we do. So we convert the international market price of gold in dollars into cedis. The bone of contention was the denominator. What do you use for the conversion? Should you use the black market rate, or you should use the formal interbank rate? And we are saying, as a government institution, we must use a formal interbank rate, and that is what we've been doing. But along the way, we realized that miners were becoming victims of their own successes, because as they cooperated with the state and sold their gold to us, and we exported and brought in more FX for the Bank of Ghana, the dollar rate went down significantly, and which is a good thing. However, it affected them adversely, because if I use a dollar rate, the dollar rate I inherited, which I was using for pricing, was 15.5 to the dollar. If I use that against an international market price of, say, $3,000 per ounce, and compare that to the same $3,000 per ounce international market price, against an exchange rate of 10 Ghana cedis, obviously you are going to get so little in Ghana cedis. So when we realized that this is what was happening, it was not because somebody was cheating anybody. It is because of the interbank rate we use and the fact that the cedi had appreciated. And I think we've seen that in the cocoa sector as well. But we decided that because their input cost has not significantly gone down, if something was not done, it could cripple production. And so we decided to introduce a bonus, a premium of a sort, for licensed miners to motivate them. So now we use the interbank rate or the same, but we add a bonus of 832 cedis per pound. And that is why today the price per pound of gold in Ghana is the highest in the world. It's the highest in the world. Yes.
And Gold Board still makes a healthy profit.
Gold Board makes profit as an institution. Yes, we make profit. Yeah, but that is another conversation that may require time. On gold trade, we ship gold twice a week. You can't make profit on every transaction. So it is the net the net results of all your transactions in a given period, which will show whether you're making profit or not. So you can look at certain transactions at a certain given time because of the price at which you're buying, and when you bring in the FX, when you bring in the FX, the rate at which Bank of Ghana sells the FX to the market is not determined by us. So losses can be made at the other side. But for us as GoldBod, we make sure that as much as possible we make profit, and by the end of the year we'll be declaring profit. In fact, we are not a profit making institution, so we'll be declaring surplus. That is the word used in the GoldBod Act.
Yes.
A surplus. Yes.
Now, obviously, because the traders might end up losing a little bit because of FX, naturally the motivation to smuggle remains. And we've noticed that you've put a bounty on some four people's heads. 1 million cedis per head, though. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot, but it's worth it because that case involves the smuggling of over $10 million of gold. Wow. That is what we know. It could even be more. And so
those four people together.
Exactly. And so if you are looking for such suspects, and they are suspects at this stage, then you need to increase the incentive for whistleblowers to report them. And so far so good. We've gotten very good leads. And I'm confident that in the next few weeks Ghanaians will hear good news about apprehension of those suspects.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. Now let's talk Galamsey.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll start with the big one. So the president, answered my question.
Your controversial question.
I didn't aim for it to be controversial. He answered it, and he appeared to take an honest path in answering the question, and admitted that, look, there isn't really any way of telling at this point, even though there are plans to get to that stage. But I'm interested in what's happening now. Today, when people bring gold to you, you are running the place, so you can tell us one way or the other. Is there Galamsey gold in there?
Okay. So, I'll answer that question. But first of all, let me clear some misconceptions that people have relied on your question and the answer the president gave to your question, to propagate in the last few days before I even come to the question. Because some have suggested that what the impression you sought to create, which I know was not your impression, but the impression they are rather seeking to create, is that GoldBod is promoting Galamsey. You see, and my simple question to them is, how can a 5-month-old statutory corporation, GoldBod, be responsible for an age-long Galamsey problem? Galamsey has been with us for decades. Galamsey has been with us for decades. This is last year there was no GoldBod, yet we saw a lot of protests against Galamsey because Galamsey had reached unprecedented and alarming levels. So how can you say that a corporation that was established barely 5 months ago is the one to blame for Galamsey? I mean, nothing could be further from the truth. Okay. Then again, GoldBod, before you went on the break, you wanted to find out if the GoldBod Act even provides for the fight against Galamsey and all that. GoldBod was established to support the promotion of sustainability initiatives and environmentally friendly mining practices. If you look at section 3.1, I believe G and H of the GoldBod Act, we have that function. So GoldBod is rather supposed to come and support. We don't have that mandate. The mandate is that of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and their allied agencies like MINCOM, supported by the Ministry of Environment. They have that statutory obligation to fight Galamsey. But in stipulating our functions, Parliament said, GoldBod, since you will be in that space trading, you should support the fight. So, and in less than 5 months since our establishment, we've done what no institution in Ghana has done. This National Anti-Illegal Mining Operation Secretariat, which was formed to be a multi-sectorial, central coordinating body for this Galamsey fight, for us to optimize resource. They didn't have money. They didn't have vehicles. In less than 5 months, GoldBod has given them 5 million Ghana cedis and 5 Toyota Hilux vehicles. And we plan to give them more vehicles. And since we gave them that support, you've seen the renewed fight all over the place. Colonel Boa, the leader of NEMOS, was in my office thanking me. That's, I mean, it's not been easy. Getting resources to eat, sometimes getting even fuel to move and all that is challenging. Because the work entails a lot. And no matter how much we are allocated, it's just not enough. And so we need people to support. So how can, I'm coming on. Yeah. So how can the same GoldBod that is supporting the fight against, established to support the fight against illegal mining, and is actually supporting the fight against illegal mining by putting in resources, be accused of promoting Galamsey? Now, the third point, before I come to your question, is that there has always been a market for gold anywhere in the world, including Ghana. Have we ever woken up to any news that there is stranded gold in Ghana? People have gold and they don't have people to buy.
There's always demand.
There is always demand. There is always a market. People always buy. So before GoldBod, gold had a market. Gold had buyers. So to create the impression that nobody was buying Galamsey gold, and all of a sudden you've had GoldBod, which is now giving Galamsey gold a market and therefore encouraging it, then clearly you don't understand what you're saying. Let me make this clear. Now I'm answering your question. GoldBod does not directly, as I've already explained, buy gold. GoldBod, as an institution, does not directly buy gold. Gold is bought for GoldBod by individuals, private individuals who are licensed to buy gold. These are not structures of the GoldBod. These are businesses. Like in the cocoa space, you have LBCs. Okay. Now these people who buy gold, because I don't buy gold. Some people say, does GoldBod buy gold? They first of all must understand that GoldBod itself is not on the market buying gold. GoldBod doesn't have buying offices for gold, where we can check whether gold is Galamsey or not. Let's understand that. So these private people who we have licensed buy the gold. Now these private people who buy the gold are not stationed on mining sites. They are located in towns and districts, mainly district capitals and regional capitals. They don't set up their buying offices on mining sites. So they sit in their offices and somebody brings gold to them to buy, and because they have the license, they buy. Now when they are buying, they don't have any technology or any system that will let them know that this gold that has been brought to me to buy, this was where it was mined, and this is the person who mined it, and this is when it was mined. Because you see, when we are talking about Galamsey gold, it is not just a matter of buying gold from unlicensed miners. That is a very narrow way of looking at it, because people can be licensed
and still
mine gold illegally, worse than Galamseyers who are not licensed. So whether the person was licensed or not, how does the person sitting in a regional capital in his gold buying office, when the gold comes, how does he know that this gold was mined responsibly? For me, that is an issue, without any negative impact on the environment. They don't have that system. And this is a problem we've had since Nkrumah, or since our colonial days. Now it is this 5 months old company or corporation called GoldBod which has now been given the mandate to find a solution to that problem. And Kojo, you think we can find a solution in 5 months to a problem that has existed for how many decades?
Can we not adopt the traceability?
No. It is there. Right. It's in the function. We are supposed to promote formalization of small scale sector through traceability, responsible source and all that. I'm saying this has not been done since the colonial days. Now we are having this conversation about traceability because there is GoldBod. If there was no GoldBod, what government institution will lead traceability? So the fact that we are even discussing traceability which is one of the topmost priorities of the Gold Board, both by way of policy and also by way of law, because we are enjoined to do so, is a testament to the fact that the Gold Board was established to help the fight against illegal mining. Because now you have an institution that can. And we have given timelines that before the end of this year, we will introduce the traceability system and commence the implementation, because it will take a long time before you roll it out. When people talk about traceability, they don't understand. But it is a very, very complicated thing, especially if you look at the ASM sector we have. Because you want to be able to trace every gold. And gold, when it is mined, is not the gold you see on television. The gold either is in a powdered form or in a form of nuggets and all that. And you should be able to tell the mine of origin where that gold came from. That means you have to use modern technology based on satellites, RFID, blockchain technology, and all that for miners who are licensed. That will be your starting point. That at the mine site, when they mine the gold, they must package the gold in a certain way. They must seal the gold. They must scan the seal. A unique code must be given that box, so that when it is taken to a buying office, that buyer will know where the gold is coming from. That buyer will buy the gold in nuggets. He will put it together in many boxes, gold coming from over 100 locations, and then go and sell it to an aggregator. That aggregator must still be able to, he is going to smelt the gold. It means he's going to melt the gold into bars. He must be able to tell you that for this 5 kg of bar, this 5 kg of bar came from gold from 100 or 1,000 sources. He must not lose the original source of each of the components of the bar before he brings it to GoldBod, and GoldBod must do the same before it is exported out of Ghana. So that is a system we are working on now, and we are working with a lot of companies in that area. And by next year, I'm sure we'll have good news for Ghana. So the president was honest. You see, we must admit something. President Mahama is governing with integrity. He says it as it is. Never in the history of this country have we been able to achieve that. But now we are working on it. And very soon we'll be able to achieve that and know the source of gold. So that if you are a licensed buyer of the Gold Board and you are seated in Obuasi, anybody can bring you gold in your office at Obuasi. But that gold may not be coming from Obuasi, it may be coming from another town. How are you able to tell? Now we are working on a system which will help you to tell. So if you know the source, then you will know, is this source licensed? And are they certified as a licensed mining company? That because the fact that you are licensed doesn't mean that your gold is environmentally compliant. That is why we have a lot of licensed small-scale mines in Ghana who are not operating in accordance with the OECD guidelines, and therefore their gold will not be accepted by LBMA refinery. So the fact that you have a license is just a small part of the problem. But what are the methods of mining are you using? Are you using mercury? If you are licensed and you use mercury, that gold cannot be accepted. It cannot go to an LBMA refinery. Are you using child labor? That's against the OECD guidelines. So it is bigger than we expect, and the Gold Board will need time to put that system in place. But just by the way, Kojo, when you have that traceability system, it doesn't automatically resolve the issue. The country will have to take a decision as to how we treat gold that is not traceable. I won't say Galamsey gold, but gold that, because like I said, to Ghanaians, Galamsey gold is gold that is mined by an unlicensed miner. But to Gold Board, we cannot adopt that definition. It is gold that is mined irresponsibly, whether you are licensed or not. If you are not following the OECD guidelines, your gold will not be traced, and your gold cannot find its way into our reserves or into an LBMA. So what then happens to gold that is not traceable? That is gold coming from persons without licenses, or persons with licenses but who are not even mining responsibly. Somebody will say, then don't buy it. The counter argument somebody can make is, if you don't buy it, then what are you telling them? To smuggle it? Because gold will always have a buyer. Gold will always have a market. And that gold is a property of the Republic, vested in the president. So are you going to reject it and tell the person to smuggle it so that we don't even get the effects and the revenue we are supposed to get from it? Or will you say that for those producing traceable gold, we will buy your gold at a premium like some LBMA refineries do. But if we are not sure about the sources of your gold, we'll buy it at a punitive discount to discourage that practice. All these things must be decided upon by Parliament and the government of the day. But the first thing is to have a traceability system in place, which is what GoldBod by law is mandated to do, and by policy has begun the processes. And like the president said, by next year we will commence the rollout. I'm not saying we are going to achieve it. We will commence the rollout, meaning that we will have that technology, we will have the hardware and the software, and then we will begin to onboard licensed miners onto it. Licensed miners who are complying with the OECD guidelines. We work with the MINCOM and Ministry of Lands and Natural to onboard them gradually until, if there are 1,000 licensed miners, we are able to onboard all of them. And this cooperative mining program that has been launched, we can even onboard some of them. Because you see, it is in our interest as gold traders to pursue traceability, because traceable gold is valuable than non-traceable gold. Because Ghana's small-scale gold is not traceable, all this money we've got in this $6 billion Kojo that we are discussing, it could be more. You know that. It could be more. Because that gold is not traceable, we are limited to only Dubai, Hong Kong, and India. Those are the places we can sell our gold, Turkey, and the likes. How much of that gold goes to LBMA refineries in Switzerland and China and the rest? You know, because there you get a better price, and that is what GoldBod wants.
Yes. I mean, I was just going
to
ask
GoldBod, people are having a wrong, impression that as if GoldBod is in the market and we are going to Galamsey and we have nothing of that sort is happening.
Sammy,
this is the whole truth.
You were just talking about how President Mahama is governing with integrity and, of course, being honest with Ghanaians on the fight against illegal mining. But prior to our conversation, there was a lot of questions that probably, let me chip this in before we go for the break. There were a lot of,
and when we come back, I would like to talk about the Galamsey
we'll
fight.
do that. There were a lot of,
so far the conversation on the Galamsey fight has not been very reflective of what is actually happening.
Indeed,
on the
because
ground,
and that's where I wanted us to go to, where of course some listeners had sent us pictures and videos of your press conference that you did at the banks of River Pra. That came up, and many are asking, do you have a second thought on that? That looking at the challenges that President Akufo-Addo was confronted with at the time, and now that you're in the space, having seen for yourself what's in the sector, you would have toned down on your approach, probably, and your criticism.
We'll hear your answer when we come back.
We'll do that,
from these messages have been said.
Sammy
Gyamfi once said, "Series."
Let's go into that series. It was at River Pra.
Yes,
Sammy, that's where you did the press briefing, I believe, at the time where, of course, you were asking that President Akufo-Addo be removed as co-chair of the SDG issues. With hindsight, would you say, well, it was a bigger fight than Akufo-Addo?
Not at all. With hindsight, I'll go back to that very location and do the same press conference because
against Joe
against Akufo-Addo, because in fact, and you will all attest to, President Akufo-Addo lacked the political will and commitment to end the Galamsey menace, and he actually promoted it and made it a free-for-all venture for his party apparatchiks and appointees who decimated our forest reserves and water bodies. And I have no regrets for the stance some of us took in opposition against his government. You see, I am proud of the fight against illegal mining that is being waged by the NDC Mahama government so far. I'm proud. I'm proud because significant strides are being made. And that is my worry about the ongoing conversation about Galamsey. Very important conversation. But we are not giving it that holistic, full picture. Okay. Kojo, the country that was handed over to us on 7 January 2025 was a country that was not fighting Galamsey at all. As a matter of fact, what was happening was that fighters of Galamsey were being fought fighters of Galamsey were being arrested, prosecuted, and jailed. I don't think that should be lost on us. As a matter of fact, in the whole of 2024, and Erastus Asaredonko will bear me out. The whole of 2024, there was not even a single operation against Galamsey, because the government of the day said it had lost in mining areas in the previous 2020 elections because of its fight against Galamsey, which was not true. They lost because of their fraudulent fight against Galamsey. But that was what they said. And I remember very well their national youth organizer going to mobilizing MPP youth to go and confront protesters. Democracy Hub, that's their name.
Yeah, Democracy.
That they should go to the bush and protest against Galamsey. Some were arrested and handcuffed and all that for protesting against Galamsey. There was no fight. Because now there is a fight. That in itself is a significant improvement on the status quo that we inherited.
But the results are worse.
The results
the
are not worse.
numbers don't lie.
The results are not worse.
Let me demonstrate.
Tell me about the results
so
you're talking about.
Take the Konyako water treatment plant that has just been shut down. The NTU levels in the water source there in August 2024 were around 14,000 NTU. That's bad enough. That's terrible. It's now around 32,000.
Yeah.
That's more than double.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, that's just one place.
Yeah.
You have several other places where the water treatment plants are being shut down because of Galamsey.
Yeah.
We've got far more excavators coming into the country than ever before, according to your own transport minister. Over 200 a day. Right? These are numbers that have increased, escalated over the past 9 months. So it may well be that you are doing things to fight Galamsey, but isn't it also true that the things you are doing aren't working?
That is a half-truth. That is not wholly true. The data you've put out is correct, but that is not all there is in terms of data on turbidity levels. So you are right, but you are not wholly right, because there is also data that shows that with regards to certain water bodies, NTU levels or turbidity levels have improved. So that is why I say we must analyze this holistically. Let me give you examples. I just took this data from the Water Resources Commission this morning, and I'll share with you. 2024 turbidity levels, they collect data twice a year, February and July. February for the dry season, and they do July for the wet season. And I wanted to see the trend 2024-2025. In many cases, it has worsened, you're right. But in many cases too, we've seen improvements. And I'll give you typical examples. Number one, River Densu at Manguase. The wet season, July of last year, the turbidity level was 256. Today it is 44. 256 to 44, Kojo, is an improvement. River Densu in Sawam, July 2024 NTU level 59. July 2025 NTU level 19.1. This is an improvement. Come to River Nkobra, Domenase. July 2024, the turbidity level was 3,720 NTU. 3,720. Today it is 2,920. That is a reduction, which is good. River Tano, Elubo. The NTU, the turbidity level in NTU for July was 1,010 NTU. As I speak to you now, it is 834. River Tano, Seshi, NTU level of 12.3. July 9.57. July 2025. So I give you 2024, then I give you 2025. Okay. Barikese, River Ofin, NTU level July last year 2024 41.9. This year July 2025 18.20. Dadieso, River Bia, very significant improvement. July last year The turbidity level was 1,190. July this year, 372 NTU. Bamboy, Black Volta, you know there's a lot of illegal mining there. NTU for last year, 52, July. This year, 4.79. So, you are right that in some cases,
many cases,
you're right, it's worsened. In other places too, it has improved. And the answer is simple. You cannot fix an age-long problem in 8 months. In 8 years, you saw how a government deliberately promoted Galamsey. I mean, our social contract with the people of Ghana is a 4-year social contract. So I say, give us the opportunity to fix the problem within the 4 years we've been given, because we have shown enough commitment, and we deserve some plaudits and support for the commitment we have shown. And I give you evidence of that. Look, under the old regime, it was lawful for people to be given licenses to go and mine in forest reserves. Today, that has been cancelled. That policy has been cancelled. In 8 months, not a single license has been given to anybody to go and engage in mining in a forest reserve. Kojo, that is something some of you fought for. And I think you should be proud that at least on that score, we have achieved something.
But we're asking for more. We want
you're asking for more, so let me give you more. Let me give you more.
Yeah.
For a long time, I heard people like Erastus Asaridonko lamenting the inaction of the Dampare-led Ghana Police Service in the Galamsey fight. Now, for the first time in the history of this country, this government has supported the Ghana Police Service to wage a nationwide fight against illegal mining in a sustained way. That, coupled with the fantastic work done by NIMOS, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, since May, has led to a situation where nine forest reserves completely devastated and decimated under the MPP, taken over by illegal miners and armed thugs, have now been repossessed by the state. At least some of them, illegal miners went and invaded them again. We have cleared them, and I'm sure you've seen the pictures. The Jimira Forest Reserve, Jimira Extension, Tano Anria, the Tano Ofin, Boyne River, the how do you call it? The Tano Nimre Forest, you know, that Tremampunia area, the offensive shelter beds. We've cleared all of them. This is something new. The police playing a leading role. What they did was temporary. Now we've integrated them into NEMOS, and now we are having a coordinated multi-sectorial approach. So under NEMOS, you have the military. You know, when we redo the police, some said, oh, it's because we want to stop the fight. I said no, because the police task force was a temporary task force from day one. We knew that along the way we're going to integrate them as part of NEMOS. And the reason why you need that integrated, coordinated central agency is because the police alone cannot fight illegal mining. You see what we are doing on the Ankobra. Yesterday, the minister was on the Ankobra. We've destroyed a lot of chamfans, seized a lot of equipment, arrested a lot of people, cleared all these illegal miners along the Brim, the Pra, the Ankobra, and all that. We are not done, but we are on it. And we are making significant progress. We couldn't have done that without the naval unit of the military. So the military has to be involved. Okay, when you're dealing with a menace involving a lot of foreigners, you need immigration in there. You need NIB in there to help with investigations and evidence gathering for prosecution and all that. So the withdrawal was not a lack of commitment. It was a change of strategy. And now the minister has said, look, together with NEMOS, the police has succeeded in, you know, calming the situation, ensuring that there is sanity across board. But now we are moving to phase 2. And phase 2 is where we focus on water bodies and forest reserves. So now there is a targeted approach, and you've seen what is going on. You understand? You've seen what is going on, Chief. For the first time, mining equipment are being tracked. For the first time. When did we see this? That Ghana, you will import excavators, Kojo, the reason why you're seeing excavators now, because hitherto nobody cared about excavators coming in. Now somebody cares. The president has given instructions that you don't clear the excavator until it is registered and a tracker inserted in it. Because there is a law that makes that a mandatory requirement. You see, so it doesn't matter how many excavators are coming in every day. Once you are registering and you are tracking them, you know who owns it. So if it is found engaged in illegal mining, you can go for the kingpin, the owner, and not those young guys working on those mines. Okay?
Right.
And then you will be able to also give proper account of all these equipment. These things are happening for the first time.
Right.
For the first time, water pumps are being seized, over 900 of them, and they are not being given to party apparatchiks because party Yeska. We have given it to Ministry of for Agriculture. Excavators are being seized and they are not getting missing, they are not getting stolen because party Yeska. They had police stations at the district level, and we are giving that to district assemblies and the Ministry of Roads for developmental projects. Something new is happening. We are taking forest reserves back. We've made forest reserve rare zones again. But there are challenges, I agree. There are still places that people are doing this. And we didn't and nobody should expect that we will be able to solve the entirety of the problem in 8 months. What you need to see in 8 months is what you are seeing. A clear political will. A new approach. Okay? And that is what we are seeing. Right. So if today, Kojo, you have a situation where NAMOS is fighting, the police are all involved, soldiers, we are fighting it. We are taking back our forest reserves. We are targeting these water bodies and clearing the illegals there. We are tracking excavators for the first time in our history. We are not giving licenses to people to mine in forest reserves. And more importantly, for the first time in our history, we have recruited and resourced blue water gas to protect water bodies. And look at the role they've played, the work they are doing with NAMOS in the Zema area. I'm sure Erasmus has been sharing the images with you. We are clearing all the Galamseyers from there. The blue water gas are working. So the Minister for Lands, Akufo-Addo, is doing a lot. The president is very passionate about this fight. I know that very soon a stakeholder conference is even being held under his auspices. Okay, so this is not the same Galamsey situation we had in our country last year. Something drastic is being done, significant strides are being made. Let's acknowledge that, and let's criticize where there are issues and help state actors, those responsible for the fight, to do that. That is why on our part as GoldBod, we are supporting. We're giving them 5 million, we've given them 5 pickups. We'll give them, very soon we'll give them more pickups because they need more. We'll give them more money. And I want to encourage corporate Ghana and all those who can help. Because now the genuine political will, which is the most important ingredient needed to defeat the Galamsey menace, is there. Right. It didn't used to be the case.
Sammy, I'm so grateful to you. Our time is up. I'm shocked at how fast it has gone, because we still have loads.
You should give us 5 more. 5 more minutes.
Our audience have been sending me loads and loads of questions. If you like, if you
ask me 1 or 2,
if you agree, because we can't do it on air. If you agree, I'll arrange maybe after this with a camera for 10 minutes. You and me will answer our audience's questions, and we'll put it on social media. That's fine. We can do it in your office if you like.
Okay.
So we'll arrange after this. 10 minutes on the camera.
I want to plead that you give the NAMOS team that is doing a marvelous job on the field. They needed coverage and support. They need to be encouraged. We need to amplify what is being done. But please, where they get it wrong, feel free to criticize us. Your criticism will help keep us on our toes.
That's our job.
And we are committed to ending this menace.
Thank you, Sammy. Thank you very much for your time with us this morning. Sammy Gyamfi, of course, is the CEO of the GoldBod. I hope you joined us in time to catch most of what he had to share with us.